ASU and ASU Care acknowledge the 22 Native nations that have inhabited this land for centuries. Arizona State University's 4 campuses and ASU Care are located in the Salt River Valley on ancestral territories of indigenous peoples, including the Akimel Autumn and Peeposh Indian communities, whose care and keeping of these lands allow us to be here today. We acknowledge the sovereignty of these nations and seek to foster an environment of success and possibility for Native American patrons and communities.
Well, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Tracy Mason. I'm the general manager here at this beautiful location of ASU Care. We hope that you're getting to know ASU Care and love it as much as our tiny staff does. We do a lot to keep this place going, and I am going to stretch my little speech out this morning because we've had a mishap. So I think I'll start with some of the things that we normally start with. Like, if you need the restroom, it's right back that direction. We'd like to acknowledge and thank deeply with all our hearts Roma Whitkoff, who has been sponsoring our teas and coffees lately. So we're very, very grateful for Roma Whitkoff. Thank you. I never know if she's in the room or not, so I appreciate that. Applause for her in case she is in the room. You know, these things, while free and a suggested donation of $5, it does cost us, of course, more than that to keep the lights on, to keep the building going, to maintain this building. We did get a grant from the Heritage Fund. Who knows where the Heritage Fund monies come from? What was it? The lottery. Yeah. So at least a lot of those lottery dollars are helping things like this. So we did get a grant, and it was a grant that needed to be matched by our ASU Cultural Affairs, ASU Gamage, and ASU Care donors, which we're greatly grateful for, because we would not be able to work on the rotting beams out there and the adobe. And if you've walked around the back of the building, you'll see that there's no skin protecting the adobe. It's all gone from having to peel the old skin off and then start putting a really protective coat on, which you see in the front of the building, which our adobe expert was able to get started on a couple of years ago. But he also has had to maintain those beautiful carved doors. So, and we have some broken tile. So there's a lot of maintenance issues around this property that just take money, and so we did have to go for a grant. So we did get the grant, thankfully. But now it's been a matter, it's been the whole scheduling issue of getting him out here to work on it. So he's going to be working on it this summer, and then you'll begin to see some of those things looking a little better. The other thing is, as I mentioned, we had a snafu this morning. So while Dr. Baruch Meir and his students were scheduled today, he's not going to be able to make it. But we have something else for you that I think you will enjoy every bit as much. So we have one of our professors, Dr. Hannah Creviston, is coming. She's on her way right now. She has been playing concerts. She played one last night. She was going to use this, as soon as it came about that she was going to be able to play for us, which was just a few minutes ago. She said, I'll just use it for my practice time. I was going to practice during that time anyway. So she's going to play some beautiful music for us. Yes, this flickering. So this flickering has been happening. We were trying to figure that out. For those of you who have not been here for, how long, Robert? Maybe 2 weeks now it's been going on? So if you've seen any shows here in the last 2 weeks, you will have noticed that flickering. But if you haven't been here over that time, I just am letting you know we're aware of it and we are trying to get that fixed. We've had 3 different electrical companies coming in here trying to help us figure it out, and so we have figured out a couple of things, but it is not solved yet, obviously. So, historical buildings, right? it's some of the things that we have to manage and deal with while being here in this beautiful place that Louise created for us. Those of you who are interested in the history and have heard me talk about Louise Lincoln Care in the past know that I could talk about her for hours. She's amazing. She's quite an idol of mine. But if you are interested and would like to read about it, we have materials. You can seek me after the concert, and I'd be happy to talk to you about the history of this place. And the other thing is, if you do have a way to give, even the $5 suggested donation, we can always take that in the box office. And we do, at these teas and coffees, we have donations that we like to give to the Vista del Camino, mostly for seniors. They have been asking for hygiene items, toothbrushes, toothpaste, deodorant, things like that for the most part. But anything you have that you can give is always greatly appreciated by Vista del Camino. And then the next thing I'm just going to let you know is that because it's going to take us another 20 to 30 minutes, those of you who have another appointment and can't stay, I totally understand. This is a snafu that just doesn't happen very often, but once in a while it does. So while Hannah is on her way, you're welcome to get up and get another tea. We have plenty of tea out there. And then we'll be letting you know if you do get up and wander outside to enjoy this gorgeous day. We'll usher people back in when Hannah is ready to go and seated at the piano. So, yes, sir. What is your? A couple of story poems? That would be great. Tell me your name. Right. John Abbott is a performer. He has performed at the Herberger Center downtown, and he's been talking to me about a piece that he has to bring here. But he also does a lot of poetry and stories, so he has offered to do a couple of story poems for us right now. I'll get the hook in case I need to take you.
Well, and I want you to pass out those overripe tomatoes.
Yes. All right. But I would say at this time, if you do need to get up and get some more tea or go to the restroom, you can do that. And then Mr. Abbott here is going to give us a couple of story poems. All right. It's all yours.
All right. Well, I thought this would be a good way to help out. And that way you don't have to get up and wander around or chat with each other. I'm very funny. See, I'm already getting laughs. I am starting to do stand-up comedy, and I recognize this gal up front. You were an exotic dancer at that club in Tempe. Yeah, she's going, that was me. No, and I also, like she said, I did literally a year ago, I had a one-man storytelling show there at the Herberger Theater in the Cax, is it? No, that's where we are now. No, that's it. The Lunchtime Theater. And it went over very well. They've asked me to put together some more stuff. But this, I thought I would share a couple of little short story poems that I've written through the years based on my own experiences in my life. And maybe that'll help kill some time. And I won't be offended if you get up and leave. Just don't come back. Gosh, I am funny. And anyway, so I was trying to think of what story to share, and I'll start with one that's about my growing up. And I'm currently writing a one-man show about, well, it's not a one-man show, it's a one-act play called My Mom Was There for Me Growing Up, I Was There for Her Growing Old. And it's going to be a really cool story about how my mom and dad influenced my life growing up and how important they were in helping mold me into being a performer, an actor. And I worked in film and television. Lots of movies here that have come in from Hollywood. They bring their movie stars, but they always need someone coming out of the OR saying, "I'm sorry, Mrs. Thompson, she didn't make it." And that was me. I got the one-liners, but I got to work with some incredible performers, actors, movie stars. It was very neat, and I loved all of that. So growing up, I remember this poem, and I haven't recited it, so if I stop in the middle and walk out, it's okay. Work with me. Years ago, when Tom was a boy, he hated the thought of running a race, or much worse, running a race to outrun the disgrace of being pounded by a schoolyard bully. You see, Tom was fat and slow and almost always got caught. A hopeless runner, fleet of foot he was not, blaming of course, that his clothes were bought too bulky or purchased too tight, when the simple fact was he ate too much of Mom's delicious cooking every night. And then one day, alone, all slumped in a corner, Tom's mom approached him. "What's the matter, son?" she asked of Tom. "Oh, Mom," he said, "I'm no good in a race. I'm fat, I'm slow, I can't hold a pace. Everyone laughs, everyone points. I feel so alone because it takes me the longest to get where I'm going." "Oh," Mom said, "honey, you're not so slow. I watch you run here at home. Over benches you jump, around trees you dart, across the front lawn you often leave your mark." "Oh, yes," said Tom, "of course I do, but Mom, that's make-believe you see me do. I'm a horse on weekends and after school. With Ben and Bill and Kathy too, we're wild and brave, and well, confidentially, Mom, I'm known to those close friends as the proud old gray." "Oh, you mean when you imagine you're a horse, you accomplish the most. The speed, endurance are then yours to boast." Well, his head up and down in a gesture of yes, Tom suddenly realized what it was his mom said. He thought, perhaps I could run with the best. So the very next day, mid-morning at school, Tom found himself a challenge. It was a real organizational duel, putting together all the rest, a herd of young horses, before the end of the 10:20 recess. And by the end of the first week, they were 14 strong, snorting, stomping, carrying on. And by the end of the second week, lunchtime fun was the sound of shrill echoes, pounding hooves like drums. Oh, Tom often laughed to himself and grinned to imagine what he and his friends must have looked like to the other students, the teachers, and administration. But thought Tom, I am what I am. And what he imagined himself to be then was a beautiful, stout, gray stallion, bolting and prancing his way on past prairies and mountains. And you know, he was pretty darn fast. But then one day the real test came. It was Friday again, which meant PE, which meant track and field, which to Tom meant hug. Oh no, last and far behind. Now wait, thought Tom. That wouldn't throw the old gray, now would it? Nope. So Tom waited. And when his name was called, he stepped to the line. He closed his eyes and started to imagine. As he did, little hairs stood up on the back of his neck. A silent but confident snort blew through his breath. Out of habit, his right foot stomped the ground. Dust stirred as he nervously moved around. He tried to control it. So obvious to him was the fact that he was changing from deep down within. Then crack went the starter boards, and off they were. Tom's head tucked and collected, his knees thrust high, his arms, his heart pounding. And then suddenly, across the powder white finish line he pulled. The race was over, and there Tom stood, right alongside of his friends. He did it. He found he could do it when he put himself to a test. And from that day on, Tom knew he was just as good as all of the rest. Tom found he could do it. I know when we're growing up, we all experience those kinds of things that mold our lives and change things and give us the strength to grow. And that's a true story. That was me growing up. And I use that to this day to find strength in decisions and sensitivity to others who I see who are still struggling. I think we have time for one more story.
Yes.
Yes, okay. I didn't hear that from everyone. Oh, thank you so much. Yes. About to lose my shorts. I need to cinch them up a little bit more. So don't be offended or put off. I'm wearing a delightful pair of underwear. Still kind of an Easter print. Well, never mind. I'm giving too much mention. They're not coming. Anyway, I love this story, and I'm hoping to make a short film out of it on the metro down through Phoenix. We all have our own fantasies. And one of mine was to be a Broadway actor. I have a degree in theater, and I thought, sure, I would be headed to Broadway. Well, I haven't headed that way yet. But I did land that contract at the Herberger literally a year ago. And I thought, okay, I'm going to live the fantasy. I need to be, this is a typical Broadway actor's fantasy, to have a high-rise penthouse overlooking the city, and the metro's down below, and you ride it to the theater district every night, do your show, come home, relax, look out over the city. So I bought a 17th floor penthouse, high-rise at Central and Camelback in the historic Landmark Towers building. And when I got this contract at Herberger, and I decided I'm doing my off-Broadway show. And I did take the light rail down to the theater district, did my show for 2 weeks, and came back, and I've lived the fantasy, and now I'm back in my little townhouse. And if anybody's looking for a high-rise, raise your hand, and I'll see you after the show. I'm serious, I'm getting ready to sell it, and I'll be looking for it. It's fabulous. Anyway, I got away from me, but I started to tell you that I'm wanting to use that light rail. So visualize that as you listen to this next little story. It's an interesting tale of possible romance, or at the very least, special friendship. I keep seeing you, your face, everywhere I look, even in the dark. In fact, oddly enough, your image is much clearer in the dark. I close my eyes and you are there. I open my eyes and you are there. Your image is sharp, serious, clear, and so in focus. Oh, I long to have the days pass by. Quickly, I hope, for then I know this picture of you in my mind will fade. A distant memory of you is what I need. Your image is too sweet to live with from day to day and all through the night. But when I'm lonely, really lonely, I treat myself to that picture of you, the one I store. And holding your image in my sight, I smile and breathe easy for a while. I wanted you so much in April. I wish we could have loved each other. I would have been so good to you, and you'd have been so good for me. It's funny, I'll spend weeks, months, maybe years trying to figure it out, just how interesting our meeting was. 2 passengers on the train we were, sitting across from one another. Yet it was different, so perfect and in step it felt, in sequence, one by one, the dinner, the walk, our talk. So perfect. Until the end, when you said no, and I ran to catch the last train. Yet believing the way I do, I suppose this ending was simply perfect, too. Okay. Here she comes, vicious as ever. Let me introduce my daughter-in-law. She actually is. And my son wants a divorce. But my wife and I love her more than him. So we're adopting her. I brought the paperwork today. And my son's going for mom's the word, a one-way ride out into the desert to pick wildflowers with my cousin Carmine from Sicily. Now everybody hum the theme from The Godfather. Dun, 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 dun. Kind of crazy. My pleasure. I'll kill a little time. Yeah. Oh, and I'll have a tip jar, I'm joking. I'm joking. Calm down.
I'm going to be watching for that script, John.
Okay, good.
So, Ms. Hannah Creviston has made it. Here she comes. I just want to let you know she is a phenomenal pianist. We are so blessed to have her here today. She is saving my bacon right now. And she has played a couple of times here. And one of the most notable ones is when Terry Barber was here in the fall. That was one of our featured artist concerts. And so she played piano for him as he was doing basically a lot of Andrew Lloyd Webber and other Broadway music. So he has a phenomenal voice. She plays beautiful keys, and I wish that I could give her a concert of her own and pay her, but here she is, a professor at ASU, and please give her a warm welcome.
So good morning. Thank you so much for letting me come and play for you. My name is Hannah Creviston, like Tracy said, and I do a lot of different things. I've been here with my husband several times. He plays the saxophone, so it's a lot of, we try to do some pretty, but it's also a lot of kind of weird avant-garde classical music. I played here with Terry. I love musical theater. And actually, I have a concert with Terry. We're both from a small town in New Hampshire, so we have a concert back home. It's his Freddie Mercury tribute show, which is completely out of my element, but so much fun to do with him. And then this project that I'm going to share a little bit with you today is something that I started doing about 7 years ago. I was always, my research area for about 20 years was working with students on the autism spectrum. And then about 7 years ago, I heard Ava Schloss, who is a Holocaust survivor. She just passed away in January. I heard her speak, and the stories she was sharing, and I've heard Holocaust survivors my entire life. I'm Jewish, I grew up reading books about the Holocaust. It's in me. But something about that night and where I was in my life and my career, I thought, I want to do something to honor those people and those memories. And so I started researching music from the Holocaust and composers who either were killed during the Holocaust or who fled or who survived. And so I've been doing that for 7 years now. And this week happens to be today, actually, is Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Remembrance Day. And so Sunday I played a concert with the Phoenix Holocaust, or played some music for their Phoenix Holocaust Association commemoration. Last night I was at the East Valley JCC. Tonight I'm playing for ASU Genocide Awareness Week. And so I have this program kind of, it's different things at each place. And then we're playing up in Sedona on Sunday again. And I thought I'd share a little bit of what I'm doing tonight with you, because I'm doing something a little bit different tonight because it is part of the Genocide Awareness Week. And so I'm bringing in some composers not related to the Holocaust. And the first one that I'll play for you is actually a Persian composer. I have 2 daughters, and my little one was in gymnastics, and about 3 years ago, she became really good friends with this little girl, and I became friends with her mother, and they are immigrants from Iran. And we just connected. And in January, when the regime began executing all of the people, I'm not a lawmaker, I'm not a politician, I'm not a fighter. I was like, what can I do to show that I'm standing in solidarity? And I went on Google and I put in classical piano composer from Iran. And this man's name popped up, Ahmad Pejman, and he was born in southern Iran in 1935. Spent most of his early childhood hearing folk music, which in the southern part of Iran is very rhythmic, very dance-like. I listened to some of it. If you know Bartok's music, makes me think of that kind of like rhythmic drive and dance feel. But then when he was in high school and college, he moved to Tehran up in the north, studied classical violin, Western classical composition, and was influenced more by the northern music, which is more romantic, lyrical melodies. He got a scholarship from the government to go to Columbia University in New York to get his doctorate. 3 years later, while he was there, the regime took over and all of that funding was stopped. So he and his family were there in New York. He didn't have any way of earning a livelihood, so they moved to Los Angeles, where there's a large Persian community. And he began writing film music and music for commercials and ballets and musical theater and all of the things that he could find. He even wrote a jingle for one of the Iranian Air commercials. And so I'll play the first movement. He died just this past year in August. He was 90 years old. And all of his music is related somehow to his homeland and yearning for his homeland and for freedom for his people. And this suite that I found is called Parsava, which from what I can tell, my friend said it's not a Farsi word, but from what I can tell, it's like an old Persian word that just means Persia. And so this suite, I'm just gonna play the first movement, and I think it really captures how he kind of integrated that the Southern and the Northern with the Western classical. So I hope you enjoy. This is the first movement of Ahmad Pejman's Parsava. And I have not touched the piano yet today, so I came from physical therapy. cheat on my notes for the next one because this will be the first time I've ever played this next piece. So it was one that I was going to be practicing today, but you're going to get to hear me practice. So Vardapet Komitas, I'm going to butcher the name he was born with. He was born named Sogoman Sogomanian in 1869 in Turkey to Armenian parents. And if you know anything about the Armenian history, there was a book that I remember reading as a little girl called Road from Home about a little girl who survived the Armenian genocide. A very sad childhood. His mother died when he was 16. When she had him when she was 16, and she died in childbirth. And his father became depressed and became an alcoholic. He was raised by various relatives. He was sent to various towns to live in various homes. And at some point, the Armenian bishop put out a call looking for an orphan to come live in the seminary who could sing. And Komitas was brought to the seminary, and he stayed there for most of his childhood. He left here and there to go to Istanbul, Constantinople, and he studied there. He did a lot of composition, and it's really interesting how everything ties together, how we're all connected. But again, I just talked about Bartók in terms of this music that you heard, but he was like Bartók in that he went around listening to and notating Armenian folk songs. And he survived the genocide, although he was arrested and underwent significant torture and was never the same. When he returned, he spent the rest of his life in basically a mental hospital. But he is single-handedly credited with saving Armenian music and keeping it from dying with the people who were killed. Let me just make sure I didn't miss any other wonderful facts that you should know about him. This piece that I'm going to play I'm not even going to try to say it in Armenian, but in English it's called The Apricot Tree. And it's an arrangement of one of the folk songs that he found in his travels throughout the countryside and notated originally. You know, it would have been with voice and probably some chords or something underneath it, but this is a piano arrangement of The Apricot Tree. So this is by Vardapet Komitas, and I hope you enjoy. Maybe by the end I'll be good at putting that back in. started doing my research into composers from the Holocaust, I found all of these people I'd never heard of, and all of this music I'd never heard of, and it's been really exciting, but also very meaningful to put faces. And if I knew I was doing this, I would have a PowerPoint with their faces so you could see them and put faces with these people. But it's been really meaningful to feel like I'm kind of bringing them to life and sharing their stories and sharing their music. And at the same time, really sobering to realize how much was lost with the loss of all of these people. So James Simon is someone, I'd never heard of any of his music, but he actually has a lot of just gorgeous music. And he's nicknamed as the Lost Composer, although a lot of these were lost. He was born in Berlin. His family was fairly wealthy. He went to music school in Berlin where he studied piano with a student of someone you may have heard of, really small name named Franz Liszt. And he studied composition with Max Bruch. So if anyone in here else is Jewish and goes to temple on Yom Kippur, you always hear Kol Nidre played. That was by Max Bruch, so that's who he studied composition with. So he had an amazing pedigree. He at a certain point in time, Jews were not allowed to perform in public or to have compositions performed in public, and so he would hold house concerts. And one of his children who survived recalled there was a story about how his father at these house concerts would perform Mozart operas where he would play the piano and play all of the parts, and then he would sing all of the parts as well. So he must have had an amazing vocal range and character and personality to be able to pull all of that off. When the Nazis came to power, the family separated, and the other thing that I've realized doing these research is all of these people were just people. Schulhoff, who I'm not going to play today, was apparently very difficult to get along with. James, he and his wife had a very tumultuous marriage. They separated at one point. They got back together. When the family went into hiding, they separated again. And he became involved with a married woman, and I love this little fact. The married woman's husband owned a chocolate factory. And I love chocolate, so to me that really sticks out. And the couple, moved to the United States, and the wife tried to convince James to come to the U.S., but he refused. But he dedicated about half of his 100 songs to her. But he did not go to the United States. He did go to Israel to visit some family there and gave some concerts and some lectures. And I thought, again, all connected in different ways. He wrote it's called Lament for Cello and Piano while he was there. And it was never performed while he was alive, but it was premiered at the Spanish synagogue in Prague by a cellist who was giving a, quote, Weinberger tour. And where this connects is this past summer, my family and I went to Prague, and I toured all of the synagogues. And my husband and I did some concerts, but the main purpose of our trip was that he was recording Weinberger's concerto for saxophone and orchestra with the Czech National Orchestra there. So again, just kind of ties it in, made it a little bit more personal and connected. In April 1944, he was sent to Westerbork and then to Terezin or Theresienstadt. We also visited Terezin this summer. Very moving. Terezin, I'll give a very short explanation of what that was. Best described as the Nazis' propaganda camp. It's where most of the artists were sent, where when the Red Cross did their one visit, this is where they went. The Nazis spruced it up for the visit. And then immediately after the Red Cross, most of those inmates were sent to Auschwitz and killed. James was among those people. On October 12th of 1944, he was transferred to Auschwitz. A survivor recalled seeing him sitting on his suitcase waiting for the train with a pencil and paper, still writing down music as he waited to board the train to Auschwitz. And he was killed in the gas chamber 2 days later. So I'm going to play a short set. Really, all of his music is just so beautiful. It's hard to decide, but I'll play a short set that he wrote in 1926. The first one's called Orchids, and the second one is called Idyllic. Katzenberg is a composer that I only discovered about a month ago. I'm currently creating a new course for ASU. It's going to be an online course called Music in the Holocaust. So I'm on all these rabbit trails that lead me to find all these new things, and it's really daunting because there's so much to cover and there's no way to cover all of it. But so he's one of the composers that I've discovered, and he was born in Amsterdam, 1919. He was the middle child of 3. They moved to the country, and he took violin and composition lessons. He has a really cool piece that I'm trying to convince my colleague to play. It's for piano duet and tap dancer, which I think would be really cool to do. There's not a lot of his early music that survived, but what has been found, I think it's really cute. You think of like a young teenage boy, it has all these like hearts and girls' names written all around the edges of the manuscript paper. He, again, similar to James, the family split up and went into hiding, and he was hiding in Amsterdam. He had started taking composition lessons with Leo Smit, who I'll tell you about in a moment, and they continued, while both of those composers were in hiding, they kind of continued those lessons via correspondence, and little, friends would bring letters back and forth. So they kept those going as long as they could. He continued composing, and actually while he was in hiding, he wrote a lot of pieces, and he became very interested in Jewish melodies and arranging them. But what he did to preserve them is he would call them Romanian or Mexican. He's got a set of 6 Mexican songs that are all in Hebrew. Or he would, replace little musical signs with with a Star of David or something like that. And so he wrote a lot of music during this time, all under a fake name. And any music that he had with him, he took his name off, and that's how some of it survived. He was moved around from hiding place to hiding place. Unfortunately, at some point, his hiding place was given away, and he was arrested. On May 8th of 1944, he was taken to Westerbork, and then 2 weeks later to Auschwitz. He died on September 30th of 1944 at 24 years old. The music that we have of his today was primarily found in the attic. His niece found this chest of music in their attic. The other major piece that still exists is a flute sonata that when he was this love-struck teenage boy, he wrote for a flutist girl who had caught his fancy. He dedicated it to her, gave it to her. She did not feel the same way about him and never played it, but she kept it. And in 2000, when the Leo Smit Foundation was created thank you so much, thank you, was created by a flutist, this girl sent the flute sonata to her, and since then it's been performed many times throughout the world. This is a really short piece that I found, but it's really cute, and when I played it last night, somebody said, it sounds like Gershwin. And yes, it does. It's called Tempo de Blues, Tempo of Blues. And it does. A lot of these composers were really influenced by Gershwin and Milhaud and all of the composers in vogue in Paris, which was really into jazz, American jazz at that point. So you'll hear it's a blues. That's exactly what it sounds like. So I hope you enjoy Tempo de Blues. right? The next piece, Leo Smit. I've played a few of his pieces. I've played piano duet, and then he has an absolutely gorgeous flute sonata that I've played. Just beautiful music. And this is who Dick Kattenberg was studying with in secret. He was born in 1900 in Amsterdam, a pretty secular, integrated, assimilated family. He studied at the Amsterdam Conservatory. He was the first composition major to graduate cum laude from the Amsterdam Conservatory. And he had pieces played by major orchestras in Europe right from a very early age. He taught at the conservatory for a while. In 1927, he moved to Paris and started writing music for film. And he became involved in the circle we call Les Six, which includes composers like Francis Poulenc, Darius Milhaud, and also traveling in the same circles at that time, as I mentioned before, was Erwin Schulhoff, who I won't play today, but prolific composer. He married, they had a nice apartment right by the Eiffel Tower. They were both pretty well off. They moved to Brussels in 1936, but then returned to Amsterdam a year later. He had a huge viola concerto premiered by the Concertgebouw Orchestra in April of 1940. 2 weeks after that premiere, Jews were forbidden from performing or having pieces performed in public. So this is when he started writing more small chamber pieces, teaching music that could be used in homes for private salon concerts and that type of thing. He and his wife in November of 1942 were forced into a ghetto in the east of Amsterdam. In February of 1943, while there, he finished the last movement of his flute sonata. That's, like I said, if you can find it on YouTube, it's one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard. It's just gorgeous. A few weeks later, the Jews from that ghetto were all summoned to a theater. They were all rounded up and sent to Westerbork, and then from there they were sent to various camps. Leo was sent to Sobibor in Poland and immediately murdered. When he was young, he was written up by critics as, quote, one of our most talented young composers. Only 4 of his pieces were published while he was alive, but somehow he had the forethought to remove his name from a lot of his compositions and give them to some students who saved them, and that's how we have his music today. I'm going to play the first movement of his deux homages, his 2 homages. If you happen to be free tonight, I'm playing, doing a big long, it's from 4 to 6. Somebody's opening for about 20 minutes, and then I'll have the rest of the time at ASU Mirabella. So if you want to come, I'll play the second one of the 2 homages. But this first one is his homage to Sherlock Holmes. I play the last piece, thank you all for being a captive audience. You really were captive. You were stuck here, and I just put myself on you. But thank you, and thank you, Tracy, for the phone call. If anyone is interested, like I said, tonight at Mirabella, on Sunday, we'll be up in Sedona, playing at the Jewish Center up there. I had them in my car, so I brought them in. I have a CD that I recently recorded. It has a solo piano piece by Carl Berman, who I did not play today. He was a survivor, went on to become one of the leading voices and conductors in European opera. And it's a beautiful piano suite that 3 of the movements he wrote while he was in Terezin, and then he wrote the rest, and it's the way he is able to write programmatic music, I mean, it's amazing. There's also the Schulhoff Sonata with my husband that I believe we've played here before, actually. And then the I Never Saw Another Butterfly, which we did here, I know for sure. So those are up there. Those are free. If you'd like one, just let me know. They're in a bag up there. It was really a labor of love, and it was actually funded by an ASU grant. So those my goal with them is I've been sending them out to all of the Holocaust education centers. One is at Yad Vashem. We delivered one to Terezin. There's one at the Simon Wiesenthal Center in California and Anne Frank Center in South Carolina. So that was my goal, really, is just to get this music out there and get people to know these names. It's been really interesting on this journey as a mother to see, I always cry when I talk about this. I'm not including this story in my class because I couldn't record it without crying. We took my 2 girls to Terezin this summer. And my 4-year-old fell asleep. She wasn't touched, but my 11-year-old, to see her try to process and deal with this. And then I took her to hear a survivor in November, and she heard another survivor last night. And I don't know if you've noticed, but the world's kind of crazy right now. So this last piece was written by a friend of ours named Stacy Garup. And it's called Tikkun Olam, or Repair the World. And she wrote this piece. She was commissioned to write this after the 2020 Highland Park shooting. This was particularly personal to me, again, talking about connections, because my dad grew up riding his bike in that parade. And so this was her response, and I'll read. She says it really eloquently. What is the role of music in response to such an event? I find 3 purposes. First, to honor the victims and survivors. Second, to reflect on the inherent goodness of the people who jumped into action to save the injured, who provided resources to the families of victims and to the survivors in the immediate aftermath, and who are continuously working to bring the community together since the terrible incident. Third, to attempt to bring healing to members of the community. In this piece, I call upon the Jewish concept of tikkun olam, that we need to fix what is broken. May we all strive to heal the world together. This is Repair the World, Tikkun Olam by Stacy Garup.
how early did you start playing piano?
Question was, how early did I start playing piano? I started when I was 6. I have 3 brothers, and my mom grew up playing music, and she had all of us start on piano, and then we all branched out to other instruments. I also played clarinet and violin through college, and then decided I only wanted to focus on piano. But yeah, so I was 6 when I started.
Very good.
Thank you so much. Thanks for being here. Not that you had a choice, but thank you. Yeah. Yes?
You mentioned, I didn't catch the name, something sonata, that we should look
Yes,
for.
the Leo Smit Flute Sonata. The whole thing is gorgeous, but particularly the second movement was the very last thing he wrote. Leo Smit, S-M-I-T. Yes. Great. Thank you all so much. Appreciate it.